I remember how a few years ago, every single day I got up, the first thing that I would do was pick up my phone, open it, and go onto Instagram and just start scrolling. And so for 2 or 3 hours of the entire beginning of my day, I would do this. And the thing is, this would always set me up for failure later in the day. I would always end up just not doing anything that I wanted to do, right? I'd have this entire checklist of things, but I would never end up doing them. I'd always procrastinate on them and set them for like the end of the day. I'm like, okay, I'll do it later, I'll do it later. And then it'd get to the end of the day, I haven't done any of those things that I said that I was going to do. And then I just push it to tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And so like for any projects I had for school, any work I had to do, or even things like going to the gym, meditating, doing good habits, I just never found the time to do them. Now the thing is, certainly I had the time. The time was always there. It was just I preoccupied myself with Instagram, with these distractions and instant gratification. So I never actually got to what I needed to do throughout the day. And so my life kind of just kept going on and on like this treadmill of, okay, push it to tomorrow, push it to tomorrow, push it to the next day, push it to next week. And then any projects that I had, anything that I wanted to do, I never actually got done. And so as a result, literally instead of like cleaning my room and making my bed in the morning, I would scroll. Literally instead of going to the gym, I would scroll. Literally, instead of focusing on spending time with my family and improving my mental health, I would scroll. And I did not realize this at the time, but the main reason that I was scrolling was because I was feeling emptiness. A lot of the times when we scroll, it's not because we actually want to scroll, but it's because we're bored. And when we're bored, we feel that emptiness. And when we feel emptiness, we need to fill it with something. Our body has the need to fill it with something. And so the easiest thing that we could do is open our phone and start scrolling. But we all know how bad this is for us. One of the biggest things that I'm worried about for the future is how addictive things are going to be. For example, social media at its start, it wasn't this addictive. You used to have to like search for videos and then you go and find the one that you wanted. Now you just go onto like Reels or you go onto Shorts and you watch short form content that's literally made like a slot machine. Like it's supposed to only reward you sometimes, which makes it so addictive. And if you think this is addictive, they're gonna find more and more addictive things because that's how they make more money, is by keeping you on those platforms for longer and longer. And so if we don't learn like to control the addictions that we have now, the ones in the future are going to be hyper addictive. And so we're going to be entering a world in the future where more and more things are going to be addictive. And so right now there's literally more addictions than ever before. Ever before in human history, there's never been like more options for different addictions than there is like now. So there's gonna be two groups of people. There's gonna be a group of people that were able to separate themselves from these addictions and to actually focus on their long-term fulfillment in life. And then there's gonna be people who are so short-sighted that they need to constantly have these addictions in order to keep going, like in order to feel good. And so this is where you have to choose between short-term instant gratification and long-term fulfillment. The thing is, when you get to the end of your life, you're going to prefer long-term fulfillment. But when you look back into the past and you see only short-term instant gratification, when you get to the end of your life, it's going to be so unfulfilling because you had dreams, you had goals, you had things you wanted to accomplish that you just never even tried, or you never pushed hard enough to get those things because you're so busy gratifying yourself in the instant moment. You weren't able to put your assets and to put your focus into a long-term goal. And so while we can't really avoid instant gratification as a whole, for example, you have to eat food, right? And that is a form of instant gratification. No matter what you eat, you're still getting some form of instant gratification there. But the ability to control which things that we gratify ourselves with, right? Using only the necessary things that we need to survive. And so there's some instant gratification activities that are actually good out there. You need to eat food, you need to drink water, and those are technically instant gratification. But the thing is, we need those to survive. And so it's kind of hard to find that line of, okay, what do we actually need and what do we not actually need? When it comes to this, we really just have to avoid the hyper-stimulating activities and the hyper-stimulating food, right? For example, when you choose to drink water over having like super sugary, high calorie juice, right? You're choosing what's actually natural for you, what your body actually knows how to like regulate and control. But when you have like a hyper stimulating drink that has a lot of sugar, like soda or like orange juice, the thing is, when you have hyper stimulating food and drinks, it becomes a lot harder to control yourself. And so you're gonna want more and more and more. And so this is an example of a food and a drink that is hyper stimulating and you're gonna keep eating it over and over. So I find it helpful to make sure that the only instant gratification that's acceptable is the instant gratification that's natural for us, right? So you can still find pleasure in eating healthy food. You can still find pleasure in drinking water and drinking healthy drinks. You can still find pleasure in being outside in nature. You can still find pleasure, and it's okay to find pleasure in those things. But when we partake in hyper stimulating activities, that's when it becomes an issue, and especially when it's on a regular basis. If you're going to the movies once or twice a month, that's totally fine. But if you're going and you're playing video games like every single day for multiple hours a day, that's when it becomes a problem. And so that's when it starts to take away from long-term fulfillment, because you're so preoccupied with getting another hit and another hit and another hit. Now seeking dopamine becomes a part of your behavior instead of seeking fulfillment. And so that's why it's so hard to stop scrolling. Sure, you could do it for one day, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna stop scrolling, and then the next day you end up scrolling again, right? For me personally, it took a lot longer to stop scrolling than it did to quit playing video games. All I had to do to quit playing video games was slowly decrease my time playing the games, and then I just unplugged my Xbox and I went all in. But the thing is, after I quit playing video games, my addiction shifted to social media, right? So I was stuck scrolling, stuck watching YouTube, and stuck distracting myself instead of like focusing on my craft. And so something that we really need is to be able to hone that extra energy that we get from quitting that addiction. We need to hone that energy into something. We need to redirect that energy, because if we don't redirect that energy into something that's meaningful to us, then we're just going to end up with another addiction. This can be a lot of different things. It can be work, it can be school, it can be like a YouTube channel, a business that you're starting on your own. The most important thing is that it's meaningful to you and it's actually helping make the world a better place. And it has to be something you're passionate about, otherwise you're just going to go back to those addictions. And so when I first started dopamine detoxing, I found one of the easiest ways to do this was to just get into the gym. And I went like full focus on the gym, and then as you can see, like pretty strong now. And it's honestly a great way to hone in that energy, right? To focus that energy that you get from, and all that free time that you get from quitting those distractions, and then you get to put it into something productive that you can see growth, that you can see progress, and like it's meaningful to you, and you're getting stronger, healthier. And it's just so easy to do it when you see those results, right? And so you need to realize this too. As long as the distractions exist, you need to be able to control yourself. While you can do things to make it easier for you to quit, like video games, like me, I unplugged my Xbox. While you can make it easier and you can put like blockers and different stuff for whatever you're doing, you can make it easier, but it's always going to be there. No matter what, you have to be able to face those distractions. I found that instead of deleting Instagram and deleting all the social accounts, right, which I did before, I've done that before for like a year, if you can still have the apps on your phone and control them, if you can still have those distractions or the dopamine, the instant gratification in front of your face, if you have it in front of your face and you can control it, that is the ultimate show of strength, the ultimate show of self-control. When the things are in front of you and you deny to partake in those actions, that is the ultimate form of self-control. And so if you can slowly train yourself up to this and slowly train yourself to have more and more control and putting those things in front of you and seeing how you feel, the feelings it invokes in you, if you can do that and realize that you have the strength to not partake in those things, that is the highest form of power. That is the highest form of strength. The last thing I want to mention is doing all the good habits, right? Reading, meditating, journaling. Those are like the big three, honestly. Once you're more mindful of your actions, because a lot of the times I didn't notice when I was like distracted by my phone. I didn't notice when I had like racing thoughts, and I just thought it was like background anxiety that was happening. It kind of felt like TV static almost. When you don't have the mindfulness to know when you're messing up, when you can't step away from your emotions and look at it from a different perspective, when you can't see those perspectives, then you won't even notice when you're using your phone. You won't even notice when you're playing the video games. You won't even notice when you're starting to do a bad habit until like after you do it, and then you're like, what did I just do? So being able to step back from your emotions and looking at it from a non-biased perspective is so important. A lot of the times I'd let my feelings get in the way of my decisions. So for example, like if I was about to play video games, or I kind of felt the urge to play video games, I'd be like, no, I shouldn't play video games. But then my feelings would be like, no, it's okay, like just this one time, it's all right. It's like the last time you're gonna do it, right? And you're not gonna do it again ever, right? So I'd let that get in the way of like my decisions, and then I'd end up like playing the video games, I'd end up scrolling. But the thing is, when you practice like meditation and mindfulness, right, you can step back, take a deep breath, and like observe it from a different perspective, from a non-biased view. And so once you do that, you realize like, oh, this is just my body like trying to tell me it's all right. This is just like my caveman brain trying to tell me that it's okay to relapse when I told myself that I wasn't going to. And so if you like, once you practice mindfulness, it gets easier and easier to say no to these things. It gets easier and easier to stop yourself and to actually look at it from that point of view. And so that's literally why I meditate at least 10 minutes every single morning. Now the thing is, I didn't start with 10 minutes. I only did it 2 minutes a day, but I found that if you can do it 2 minutes a day consistently for a month, and the next month you do 5 minutes a day, and then the next month you do 10 minutes a day, it's a lot better than trying to start off with like 10 minutes. It's like trying to hit a PR in the gym. It's literally like trying to go to the gym, hit 225 on bench, and then getting mad when you don't get it because like it's too hard. It's like getting mad and then saying, oh, I'm never gonna go to the gym again because I wasn't able to do it. It's like, of course, you're probably not gonna be able to do 10 minutes of meditation a day at first, but if you can guarantee yourself 2 minutes every single day for a month, then you're gonna start to develop that habit. And then once you set time apart for that every single day, you can upgrade it to 5 minutes, you can upgrade it to 10 minutes. And so there's literally like a ton of apps you can get for free that have like a meditation framework, and there's a bunch of YouTube videos too that you can literally use to meditate to. Another thing that I want to mention is journaling, right? A lot of the times we get anxiety because we have a thought and then we kind of stuff it into our subconscious, and then we forget it, and then we're like anxious about it because it was important to us, but we don't know what that thought is, but it's in the back of our subconscious. We just can't find it. And so one of the most helpful things to do is to actually like write your thoughts down and to store your thoughts. Because here's the thing, the brain is really good at remembering things and storing that information, but it's not very good at recalling that information when you really need it. So if you can get those thoughts that you have in the moment and actually write them down, then you're like, your brain subconsciously knows, okay, it's safe on this paper, it's safe in this journal. I don't have to think about it anymore. I don't have to overthink about it. And so that's why like journaling is so good for mental health, is because instead of having all those random like anxious thoughts, you just write them down and then you see, okay, this is what I'm thinking. Okay, it's safely on a piece of paper. Oh, I have to do that. Check mark. Okay, I'll do that. That way, all of your thoughts are safely stored somewhere else, so your brain doesn't have to sit there and think about it over and over again. And then the last thing is reading, right? Reading is just changing the way you think. Like, a lot of people say it's about gaining knowledge and gaining information. The main point about reading is actually changing the way that you think. The thing is, when you read a book of somebody that you want to be like, or somebody that you like, right? Somebody that you want to be more like. When you read a book of that person, they're writing it in their own words. They're writing their own thoughts, their own ideas, and they're writing it in like their own language. And they're putting, subconsciously, they're putting like all of their knowledge and all of their past experiences within that writing. And so the way that they think comes out in their writing. The way that they process information, the way that they see the world comes out in their writing. So if you read that text, you're going to start thinking more like them. If you see the way that they process those things, you can see the way they handle problems and issues, then you're going to start to handle problems and issues like that. You're going to be able to step back and observe from a different perspective, right? And so reading helps you to build the right mindsets, the right ideas, and the right ways of thinking. And so when you adopt those ways of thinking, it changes your mindset, it changes your beliefs, and it changes you as a person. So that's why reading is an incredible habit. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you go down right now and subscribe. Also, make sure you leave a comment down below telling me your story. My name is Justin, and remember, you deserve the consequences of your actions.